This is a remake of an 80s vampire cult movie directed by Craig Gillespie. And it's starring Anton Yelchin again, who was, we also talked about it was being in The Beaver, and Colin Ferrell. Yelchin is a teen who lives in the suburbs of Las Vegas. His mother is a single mother, played by Toni Collette. And there's a new guy who moves in next door who's a little weird, a little off-kilter, very handsome though, and kind of a ladies' man, played by Colin Ferrell. And Yelchin's ex-best friend, because you know after you get a certain age, you kind of you sort of decide whether you want to be a loser or whether you want to be popular, and some of your friends kind of get left to the wayside because of that. Such person, played by Christopher Mintz-Plasse, aka McLovin, is, you know, he's still kind of living in fantasy land. He's kind of still, you know, a geek, a man-child, whatever you want to call it. And he suspects that Colin Ferrell is actually a vampire. And Yelchin, Charlie is his actual name and the character's name, he isn't going to have it. He's, you know, you're living in a fantasy world, you need to get out of my life, blah, blah, blah. And because of that, things start to go awry. And Charlie finds himself in the middle of a big vampire hunt in the suburbs. I went into this movie with pretty low expectations because I knew it was a remake. I knew vampire stuff's been done to death. This is the second vampire movie we've talked about just in this show alone. And because of the post-Twilight-y kind of stuff, the whole teen vampire thing, I become very suspect of anymore. But I thought this movie was actually a lot of fun, and I came out liking it a lot more than I thought I would. It sort of has that kind of, it is a remake of an 80s vampire movie, but it has that kind of a throwbacky sort of feel of movies like The Lost Boys and Near Dark and of course Fright Night. And I like that energy. You don't get that from vampire movies anymore because they're also lovelorn and serious and deep gazes into your eyes and blah, blah, blah. And this one's just like, you know, this is fun, like go grab a bunch of steaks and run out there and let's kill us some vampires kind of stuff, you know. And then afterwards we'll play some Sega Genesis.
Booyah. Mortal Kombat, Sega Genesis. And
that's the kind of energy that this movie has. However, the middle act gets a little slow, it gets a little flabby, and it feels a little meandering. There's times where we're wondering, where is this movie really going? And it goes from kind of being a comedy horror to kind of going more straight comedy, or going straight horror, as it were. And it doesn't quite balance that tone perfectly, but I think it does a pretty well job through most of it. There's a really fun performance in the middle of the movie of David Tennant, who some people might know as one of the later Doctor Who people. He kind of comes in to fill in for, feels like they wrote the character for Brand and then wasn't able to get him. So who could do the best Russell Brand? And then David Tennant raised his hand. And he, well, it's Russell Brand as doing an impression of Mind Freak Dave or Angel or whatever, Chris Angel. And it's a funny performance, and we've seen kind of a lot of parodies of that, but it always works. And the movie's not perfect, but as far as teen vampire movies, it's one of the better ones I've seen lately. So I gave it a B-.
B-. I liked it just about as much as you did. I gave it a C+.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, it was a great watch, good thing to go see, and enjoyable. But you know, really basic plot. I mean, it's 80s plot.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much set with predictability and all that. One thing I really liked is that he doesn't magically get a girlfriend at the end. He starts out with the girlfriend, so that's always nice.
Yeah.
He's not the loser kid who just magically gets the popular girl because he fights a vampire for her.
Yeah.
A lot of good suspenseful spots where they're trying to escape and stuff, and I was entertained through that. Really did like David Tennant's comic relief.
Yeah.
Wanted to note that Christopher Mintz-Plasse, or whatever his last name, worst vampire ever. That was terrible. Terrible.
It wasn't the best. He kind of had some issues with his performance, and I don't know if that was the point. It was like, even as a vampire, he's still a loser.
Yeah.
He's a loser vampire. In which case that would be kind of funny, but it didn't. I felt like he was hamming it up a bit too much.
So I enjoyed it. It was a good one to see, but yeah, not the greatest of movies.
Yeah, dollar theater. Dollar Theater. All right, well, that's our show, and I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to check out our review archives on youtube.com/videoclerks, and we'll see you next time.